Hospital Porters' pride and dignity stopped the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV yet again for another review of the speakers at the Leeds Exopolitics Expo 2010. I'm now I've sneaked into one of the empty auditoriums, as you see. This is another area just to film in. I'm just going to describe the last speaker we had, who's a man called Anthony Beckett, who was actually one of the producers of this event. He has a website called anthonybeckett.com. And he was talking about Mars, about the sort of like the issues surrounding Martian exploration. He described the history of our relationship with Mars, the early telescopic pioneers like Galileo, Schiaparelli, Lowell, Huygens, and people like that. And he talked about the early Mariner and Viking missions that saw just a desert, a dust bowl they made Mars look like. But they said the atmosphere was very thin, 1% of the atmosphere of the Earth, carbon dioxide, couldn't support life. The basic message was that there's no life on Mars. There's some issues over the colours of the pictures too. There's theories that the pictures were doctored to make it look like Mars had a red sky instead of an Earth-like blue sky. There's a guy called Doug Ellison who says differently, but like I say, there's always different sides to every story. He talks about the various more recent missions like the Phoenix mission, Pathfinder, and about how this information is disseminated to us. He talks about the Brookings report, which was came out in 1960, which was about space exploration. The Brookings Institute was a kind of psychological think tank. Boo! Tavistock Institute kind of thing. Ooh! And they were saying, basically, it was a long written report, but the gist of it was, if you find life on Mars, or evidence of former life, for instance, ruins, for instance, like the face on Mars and Cydonia, it would be a good idea not to shout it from the rooftops, because of the effect it would have on society. Well, guess what? I mean, NASA has found ruins on Mars, and they're debunking them because, a la the Brookings report. There's also the failure of probes to Mars. More than 2/3 of the probes sent to Mars have failed. It's amazing, terrible success rate for these spacecraft. The most recent one was Beagle 2, which was created by the Open University, which is an organisation my dad once worked for. And Beagle 2 is incidentally the only non-NASA or Russian spacecraft to be sent to Mars. And it had tests on it for life which were much better than the previous tests on the previous spacecraft to Mars, which would have confirmed or denied other experiments which were inconclusive. So maybe that's why it failed, The impression I get most from Anthony Beckett's excellent address and information is the distinct difference between astronomy and space exploration. Conventional scientists regard space exploration as continuation of early astronomical exploration using telescopes from Earth. But there is a very, very distinct difference between astronomy and space exploration. And I've been into this before in my Nibiru film. Astronomy is the only truly democratic science. All the data is there for us to see in the sky above us. We just get a telescope, we go out and we look. It's impossible to cover things up in astronomy. Space exploration is the exact opposite. All the data comes through the proper channels, that is the space agencies, the government organisations. In that way, it couldn't, space exploration and astronomy are really anathema to each other. And it's completely and utterly false to say that one is a continuation of the other. That's all for HPANWO TV for now. I'm going to go back to the auditorium in a minute and we're going to hear Richard D. Hall. Hospital Porters' pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.